You have the joy and the responsibility to explain that God's ways are best. Your own life experiences can serve as examples, pointing children to a loving God who blesses those who honor him and forgives us in the cross of his Son when we fall. We thank God for all of you whose lives display the vibrancy of the gospel. You willingly share your stories, your inspiration, and your faith with us. Today we honor you as people blessed by God and people in him bless us.
I couldn't help but think when we were really enjoying that song, This Little Light of Mine, how many people sitting in our congregation, and many of those people are not here as well today, that we think about, that they shared their talents and their time and their efforts with us here in Harrow United Church. They didn't hide it under a bushel. They let it shine. And today, as Sue pointed out in her children's story, today on Appreciation Sunday, it's all about appreciating and counting our blessings, that we here in Harrow are so grateful for having so many people that do step forward to help out. And no more have we seen that as in the past year when we have not had a minister here. We've called on people, and 9 times out of 10, they said, yes, I will do it. And we are ever so grateful for that. And you know, even as the ladies pointed out, just that little bit of help that sometimes we need. And we also saw Beth running around this morning talking about the pie booth. And Beth and I both know it takes about 180 people to volunteer for the turkey dinner. So many people. But when we all work together, it's a little song on the back that we're going to sing a little later. I am the church, you are the church, we are the church together. And all who follow Jesus all around the world, yes, we are the church together. We are providing ministries in this church and beyond these church doors that help and benefit people. And I remember when Reverend Paul Browning was here that he talked about the values, the core values in our church, the love, the respect, the gratefulness, and the generosity that we extend to everyone in our church community and in our community beyond. And every year, the worship committee takes time to select a few individuals from our congregation. Mind you, there are so many people, but every year they try to recognize a few of these individuals who have been long-standing in our church and who've volunteered for many things over the year. And if they didn't volunteer, they were tapped on the shoulder or they were drugged forward and said, would you do this? And we do even appreciate that. And this morning we're going to recognize the following people, and when I finish announcing their names, I would love to have them come forward, and I will talk about them for a minute or two. And I know that I'm not going to probably touch all the things because my memory isn't that good, and I even had Lorraine, I had different people telling me things about these people, and I'm sure we have missed some, and if we do, then you can let me know. So one person we'd like to recognize this morning is Kay Taylor. I don't believe Kay is here. Another person we'd like to recognize is Roberta McClean. Roberta, would you please come forward? And Joyce Hedges. And Reverend Dawn and Gladys Mannell. Roberta, you're first on the list, so if you'd like to just stand here. And I know she's going to correct me on some of these.
No, I'm not.
Roberta has been a member of Harrow United Church since 1951, when she transferred from Cottam United. And was that because you came here and was married, Roberta?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm married 40 years.
And she served on the official board, and she was on the worship committee, I believe, for many years. She was a recording steward for congregational meetings, and I remember that. And she's been a scripture reader in the morning services. And as she is musically talented, she shared her talents as the junior choir director and sang in the senior choir for many, many years. And I know the senior choir probably really misses you now that you're not up there.
And I miss it.
And you miss it. She has been heard to say that she doesn't recall a committee or an organization in the church that she hasn't been a part of at one time or another, other than the AOTS. But Roberta, I have news for you. The AOTS are now accepting females into their organization, so they will sign you up anytime. And Roberta, we as a congregation thank you for sharing your time and your talents over the many, many years that you've been to Harrow United. And I know that you will continue to do whatever you can do.
I will.
And thank you so much.
And I have enjoyed all those years.
Joyce Hedges. Joyce, we think you have been a member of Harrow United since 1943. She's not going to say. Joyce was a faithful and dedicated member of the UCW for many, many years. And during that time, she was instrumental in getting the new kitchen put in downstairs. I think that it's time that we resurrected her and get her to begin working on a new kitchen downstairs. And she served on the official board. She chaired the Kit Richardson Fund Committee for many years and headed the Flower Committee. And I think that was probably the first Flower Committee that we ever had in Harrow United that you put together. Joyce is also known for her quilting expertise. Many years ago, when we held the interest groups here, do you remember that, Joyce? We had 150 women one year on Tuesday mornings downstairs, and they met during the morning, and they all had groups that they would go into, and Joyce led many of those groups here. And she has also done a number of quilting projects for our church. And she's also known for her baking and her famous pies, and I'm sure that she could tell Lorene just what apple is just perfect for pie. Joyce, you have had, and also someone reminded me about all the sewing you had done for the costumes over the many years. And you have held many positions here at Harrow United, and we appreciate everything that you have done. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would you like to say? If anyone would like to say something, that's fine. Well, Don and Gladys Mantle, we're down to you. Now, Don and Gladys Mantle came to Harrow United when he was hired as a minister here in 1968. And after being here for 16 years, Don left to take a position in London as a minister at Gethsemane United Church, and he retired from there in 1990. And since he returned to us, I believe that he did join the Epworth Church in Kingsville during that time, but then decided to return to the Harrow Church. And so since he returned to us as a sit-in-the-pews member instead of at the pulpit, Don has served on the official board. He's been a member of Essex Presbytery. He's also served a term on London Conference. That's the big annual conference that's coming up next week. And I always know that at board meetings or anywhere, I can call on Don if we have a problem or a question about parliamentary procedure or the manual of the United Church of Canada. By the way, it is changing in August, Don, so I expect you to be up in the fall to exactly what we're supposed to be doing. He has been a member of the choir for many years in the tenor section, and he's been the treasurer of the People's Fund forever and ever. And he's also been a very active member with the AOTS, where he served as secretary. And Gladys, you know the saying that behind every busy man, there is an even busier woman. And Gladys, we know you by your lovely, quiet smile, a person who is always there saying, if you need some help, I can do it. Do you remember the dozens of tea biscuits, dozens, I mean, that I asked you to bake for a presbytery dinner here? That's only because she is known for her tea biscuits. Just the best. She's also famous for her butter tarts. One of her boys reminded me about that. You've also been a member of the UCW here and very active in it. You've assisted with the interest groups over the years. You were a faithful volunteer in the nursery, which I know nursery staff really appreciate that. You've been a scripture reader, and you have assisted with the ministerial luncheons, and you're also known as our best storyteller for years. I personally also know that you always stay until all the cleanup is done, whatever we're doing, whether it's a luncheon downstairs, and every morning, Sunday morning, she pops by just to check on the kitchen to ask if we need some help with making coffee. Giving all this time to the church, you and Dawn, you also gave time to raising some lovely children, some of whom have stayed in Harrow, and we count them as very valuable members of our church family today. And Dawn and Gladys, we feel blessed for having you as faithful, dedicated members of our church family as we do Joyce and Roberta. And we thank you this morning on behalf of the congregation.
We'll now sing Deep in Our Hearts. It's also found in your bulletin.